I'm sure I'm leaving a lot of different things out there as well. But like where, if I had a finite budget as a finance professional, like where should I be focusing my time and looking to improve?
Part of that kind of depends on what they're looking to get into. Right now, we are seeing
Welcome to the Financial Innovations Podcast, helping CFOs save money and time by investing in cutting-edge technology. Here we're joined by Julia Radovani. Julia, it's great to see you here today.
Great to be here, Daniel.
So before we get started, why don't you just take a minute to just introduce yourself for our audience, and then we have a lot of talking points here today.
Awesome. So I am a director at a consulting firm specializing in the financial systems space. So doing a lot of work with ERP, with big data implementations, EPM, master data. And I've been at this game for about 12 years now. And, where you'll see me today is really plugged into several accounts, looking at our overall strategy on how to optimize delivery and making sure we're on the cutting edge of net new technology.
No, that's great. And, I usually hesitate a little to have consultants on the show just because, I don't want to necessarily turn it into a sales pitch, but I thought, it'd be great to have you on because your experience really touches, all aspects of what a finance group would, care about and different technologies that they have. So, it'll be great to just kind of learn from the various experiences that you've had as well. So I think, one thing that, I can ask about that you might have better insight than, the average person at the average company is, being able to see overall trends and, what companies are investing in, what's working, what's not. So, what are you seeing out there in the market? What are companies really, focusing on and investing in, kind of currently?
Yeah. Of course, the move to the cloud continues to be like the biggest shift that I've observed in my career. And, now we're seeing some of the larger on-prem footprints moving their entire foundation over to the cloud. That's across their ERP layer, across their data and analytics layers, EPM layers. And we're seeing companies approaching this kind of work cohesively. Some of the software vendors are getting, integrated in proposing larger roadmaps, really doing a great job at presenting the cloud ROI. And some of the cloud technology now is starting to surpass the feature set of what we used to rely on with on-prem. So a massive shift to the cloud continues. And, particularly for my space, we're seeing more clients focused on the technology footprint of that cloud evolution. So I think, as we started mainly to drive conversations through the office of the CFO. We're now seeing IT coming more on board with a partnership with the business to explore all the advanced functionality that the big software providers have on their tech platforms and really see how they can pivot that to the strategic advantage of the industry and the space that the firm operates.
Yeah, no, that's great because, I know 5 years ago, 10 years ago, there's a massive shift in what people, are willing to do, cloud versus on-prem. And, 10 years ago, there were a lot of companies, that would say that, hey, going to the cloud is either insecure, it's impossible, it'll never happen, right? And now you see that many of those same companies, in many cases, are looking cloud first when they're trying to, choose applications. So, I mean, what I guess from your standpoint, how kind of have you seen that shift happening? And, are you still seeing resistance at companies to moving to the cloud?
Yeah, I think like one interesting observation I've noticed in the last few years is that the answer of, or the decision point to move or not is influenced more and more by how creative companies can get in kind of bundling various services, and in many cases, various services from various software providers, right, to present or to achieve an overarching solution. So I think this is a nuance of this cloud transformation, in that it's not just one cloud provider that's going to deliver all the value that clients are looking for, but we're seeing the savvy combination of cloud providers and kind of selecting services of choice that really gets our clients to have a solution that's meets their goals. And there's nowhere where the bundling of services is more customizable and advanced as in the platform services of, Oracle and Microsoft and AWS. So that's been an interesting shift.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, because in the past, a lot of companies would just go to whatever I get the best bundle out of. I'll go to an Oracle, an SAP, a Microsoft, because I can get 3 or 4 systems from them, bundle them together, install them on the same set of servers, and we're good. Now with the cloud, you can buy Oracle for your EPM, you can have Salesforce for your CRM, you could have Workday for your HCM, and start going with a best of breed approach. But I know that introduces its own set of challenges as you start going with different clouds for different things. Maybe you could talk a little bit about how companies are kind of bridging that gap with they bought best of breed, and now they've recognized that best of breed really doesn't talk well.
Right. Well, you know, we know very well from our long experience. Daniel, you and I started our career working with the Oracle platform, and even in that collective ecosystem, right? There is customizations. There is an approach, I guess, you have to take to the integration strategy, the reporting strategy, to make the modules talk to one another. I mean, I don't see the multi-cloud experience, or I don't find that experience to be that different, because, once you select the applications that have the functionality that you need, but you still do give as much consideration to the underlying technology stack that's going to support the integrations and the data and analytics, you can sort of like free yourself to shop around. You can more freely come to a kind of good feeling about certain decisions that is not just, oh, I inherited this crap EPM tool because I went with the, software provider that does my ERP, or, I see the evolution of, and the coexistence of multi-clouds. I find that a little freeing. With that said, of course, there is a role for integrations. There is a role for a data strategy that's going to allow you to report cohesively on the platform. And, maybe in the past, as the cloud came on board, some of those aspects may have not had that much importance, but we're seeing trends where the integration and analytics strategy is at the forefront of some of the requirements and design sessions for the cloud apps, SaaS applications.
So, I think one thing that was very interesting to me, one of the biggest reasons, obviously that wanted to have you on was just that, you've been involved in, across a broad spectrum of technologies, doing implementations, helping customers. As you said before, we've done a bunch of projects together where, we've been able to, both help the customers. You've done a bunch of, projects. I've done some others. One thing that I came across, and when I started this podcast or started thinking about it, I was thinking about innovation and new technologies, and what are some of the things that that we're creating, net new of different applications out there. But I learned that there are a lot of companies that just don't have the knowledge of what is out there, and everything seems innovative to them, and new, and that they didn't even know that it existed. So, given that, you've worked across, enterprise performance management, business intelligence, ERPs, HCM, I'm sure I'm leaving a lot of different things out there as well. But like where, if I had a finite budget as a finance professional, like where should I be focusing my time and looking to improve?
Part of that kind of depends on what they're looking to get into. Right now, we are seeing the biggest ROI being in modernizing the accounting functions. That's really, it's the bread and butter of how a company operates, and optimizing accounting ops has efficiencies downstream on financial processes. So a lot of companies are investing in kind of cutting down man hours on as they make this evolution to more modern platforms, using digital assistants to support the organization, relying more on business process workflows to automate approval processes where possible. And in part of modernizing accounting ops, I think is related to selecting the best service provider to help provide that initial SaaS offering, but also kind of selection of the people who you work with to get you on the journey.
Sure. No, that's great. I know AI and machine learning is, all the talk and the rage right now. And, are you seeing companies seriously looking at AI right now? Do they want to wait for it to be a little more mature? Do they, trust it, not trust it? Like where do you see that at, kind of at this stage of the game?
Everyone's interested to see how they can incorporate it in their day-to-day workflows. I think, the big software providers are trying to release more and more features that are trying to surpass the descriptive AI features. Those may be, describe the trends associated in this report, or, for instance, loading of a bulk data set and having the software recommend the best visualization for that data set. These have been a little bit of some simple examples of the beginning of the journey. I do think, AI provides an opportunity for businesses to just get more competitive in their industry. And part of that competitiveness has to do with how they harness their data assets in a way to differentiate themselves, and really what they do with the data, that and how best they collect this data, analyze it, and try to glean insights from it. That's really where that differentiation is going to come into play for industries. So, of course, the software providers are trying to release as many features that are going to allow clients to start to build these capabilities sort of in-house, whether it be on the platform services, on these like low code type environments where through prompt-based communication you can build custom applications and whatnot, or even more built-in features in their cloud SaaS offerings. Definitely the AI journey is there. It's happening. And I think in my mind, it's going to lead to more industry diversification and of companies now building their own applications that are going to differentiate them, and get sort of apply these applications more on their operational aspects of their business.
Sure. Yeah, no, that's great because, I know there's a lot of fear out there with AI of, and I'm not talking about robots killing people and, all that kind of stuff, but just, in terms of, is this going to be a net job creator or destroyer? Things like that. I think at this point in time, it's very rudimentary how the AI is, where, it can do some pretty amazing things, but at this point you have to know exactly how to ask it, and I think that opens opportunities for people that are liaisons between other people and the AI, but hopefully or maybe perhaps in the future the AI is going to know what to what to ask you for, so that it can give you the right answer rather than you having to know.
Right, right. We all imagine you know, the benefits that we can get by incorporating more, by telling an AI tool to ask you the right questions it needs to know to accomplish your objective. That's like kind of fascinating that we're getting there to some extent.
Yeah, definitely. So I wanted to shift gears a little bit and just kind of talk about innovation and innovative solutions and technology out there in general. Because I know that we've built a bunch of things together. There are things I've built that you guys use. There are things you guys have that that I probably haven't even seen or know about. But I guess just generally speaking, like what is your I guess definition, for lack of a better word, of innovation? Like, what do you think of when you hear the word innovation?
It could be an innovation in process. It could be a fully fledged out tool. It could, innovation is a broad term. It's of course something we all gravitate towards and want to try to emulate and incorporate in our lives as much as possible to be on the cutting edge of things. In my day-to-day, innovation is mainly process oriented right now, I would say. So I'm kind of, even if it is pertaining to technology implementations, my work is a little bit more on the process end of innovation work.
Yeah, and I'll tell you why I asked, because when I was first thinking about doing the podcast, and I said, oh, financial innovation, my first thought was, oh, hey, I got a bunch of patents. I built this software that does all this crazy stuff, right? And then, as I, kind of went down the journey and thought about it some more, I said, well, there are a lot of things that are innovative. Some of the stuff that we've done in the past where it's been like an Excel spreadsheet with some formulas or something tied to it are things I'd probably look back and say, hey, that's innovative because it, saved time, it saved, the customer money, things like that. As you go through, I guess, what are some of the, innovations or things that, you've done that you've seen, kind of value from, for your customers?
Yeah. Um, I'd say I'd pick two examples in this space. One is, and they're both tied to the implementation process, right? So I'm in the business of doing this kind of work day in and day out across different clients who have a similar technology footprint, but of course unique challenges, unique data, unique constraints. And when you're on the hook for delivering a certain outcome, you need to, do what you can to manage risk variables, right? So one of the areas of focus for me this past year has been looking at trying to improve the way we handle data conversions in these large multi-pillar projects. And the data conversion process in itself is very challenging because there's a lot of kind of human touch points to getting to the final result of this data loaded from system A to system B, along with checks and balances on the validation process, along with translation logic that needs to be applied and needs to be in alignment with how functionality is changing from the old to the new system. And the other aspect the process has to it is that it's very sort of man-hour intensive in that data conversions are iterative. They're repeated in a dev test prod environment during cutover. And your whole objective as an implementer is to look to standardize, to look to shrink this time to cutover, and to look to allow the client to be able to validate this data set in the most effective way. So, for the scope of our projects, a conversion process can involve multiple stakeholders from the client. It does involve at least one functional consultant on our team. It involves several technical consultants, a project manager who's overseeing it, and it's a coordination of usually about 5 to 10 people per object to accomplish. So part of my desire has been to kind of break down some of the barriers, get everyone involved in the process to understand what the downstream people do and the upstream people do, and look to draw out some patterns in the Oracle data ingestion end in our use case, and look to codify those in a technology integration process, but all while understanding that the end-to-end conversion cycle is at best always going to be semi-automated. So really we're focusing in on those aspects where the automation can provide a big lift, while also focusing on decomposing those process aspects, which are ambiguous and sometimes can lead to a lot of rework. That's been kind of one cutting edge aspect that's value add for an implementation partner.
Yeah, no, that's great. Now, when you say conversion, are you talking about I have one ERP, I'm upgrading to another ERP? Or are you talking about like I have an ERP, now I'm implementing another system that needs data from the ERP, or both?
Yeah, it's in many cases it can be both, but in a lot of what we see is upgrading of ERP to cloud, and that's also an opportunity to vet out, your supplier master, vet out your list of bank accounts, your customer structures. So there's a lot of it's one of those really foundational moments in a company's history where you get to put in a few changes if you have enough time dedicated to proper design versus just dealing with issues and ambiguity because the process is challenging.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the areas that's often overlooked is, it could be anything, just upgrading one ERP to another. You think, oh, I buy the product, I click a couple buttons, and, and the system works and it has all my data that's in there. When, I think one of the most difficult conversations to have early on in a project is setting that expectation of, no, it doesn't just work out of the box. No, your data doesn't just come over as is. There's, bits and pieces in there, and people ask, hey, how long does it take to validate my data or to convert it? And the answer is it depends, right? It depends. If your data is clean, it comes over right away. If it isn't, which is 99% of the case, then it could take a variable amount. And and you see validation happening sometimes in days at one company. I was recently working with a company who had data validation take months, just because something was always wrong and little exceptions here and there were found. So, I guess if you're a company that's looking to upgrade, you say it's time for us to go to the cloud. Like what are things that you think they should be thinking about prior to initiating the project, maybe early stages of the project, that they might not know that'll save them time and headaches along the way?
Yeah. So we tend to start off these programs by looking to by sharing some principles and looking to come together on some guiding practices, right? Like when you're going about a transformative event like this, the project teams and the client teams are going to have to constantly look back and rely on these principles to make decisions. Around the conversion topic, some of the initial guidelines are always around historical data, let's say, right? There's no major need to load, 20 years of history from your old ERP system to your new and really extend that implementation life cycle, extend that data validation cycle, and potentially bog down the system if you have alternatives. And some of these alternatives have to do with, an analytics strategy or even a data archival strategy where you might be keeping your old system live, just hosting it on the cloud in case you do need to reference those transactions. Preparing for the journey, you definitely want the utmost flexibility when it comes to your integration approach. You definitely don't want to be pigeonholed into a couple of limited ways of handling integration. So we always suggest really investing in middleware to allow us the flexibility, a middleware tool to allow us to have robust integration patterns, because those are going to impact the functionality of the app once it's live. We always recommend, clients do some initial legwork to understanding security concepts on the cloud, and looking to cohesively align security of a platform as they're setting out to do their journey. And then being flexible on like tech accelerators, on initializing of unique services, cloud databases, and maybe Apex applications or custom apps that are going to give them some advantage as they decommission some customizations that they have in the tool. But the whole cloud thing is really about fit to modern. It's about assessing what is a delivered functionality, then questioning whether customizations you're dealing with today are a strategic advantage and therefore there's value in building them out, or whether they're a relic of the past or an outdated process that can be modernized and re-engineered.
No, that's great. Great words of wisdom over there. And so when you see customers going, on-prem to cloud, you typically see the driver of that being that they're getting new features that they might be excited about in the cloud. Do you see it that, I know a lot of vendors are pushing to the cloud where, they're not making updates and, patches as readily available on-prem as they are in the cloud, and, you're almost forced to go to the cloud? Or do you see that it's, driven by the, hey, we have all this extra flexibility by going to the cloud, and that's, why we're doing it?
Yeah, I think we see it mostly now as a result of end of life support for a lot of the big on-prem implementations. It's never really a good time for a large project that's going to require a lot of work, a lot of attention, all while you are managing the day-to-day. And, some of the decision points for large clients when they have to do a phased roadmap because their solution is so large that from a change management perspective, the big bang approach is a no-go. Those are, clients that I personally feel for because it's, sometimes a decision to defer or a lack of investment to modernize early on can lead to some, suboptimal scenarios that do end up requiring a lot more work as businesses now are facing, more growth pressures than before. So, I mean, but to your point, it's a combination of many things as well, right? A new leadership team. It's a preparation for, onboarding and acquisition, expanding business units, as a result of that, getting into new capabilities. So, all really fascinating impetus for transformation. And all of these have, real people consequences to them. So as Daniel, everything we do in this space is all very thoughtful to make sure our stakeholders have kind of the best reputation and the best outcomes, because at the end of the day, a lot of their success is hinged on these big transformative events. Like, we move on, we get to other clients, but the work we leave behind has a legacy to it that has to be tended to.
It's very profound. So I guess, for companies that are looking to, upgrade their ERP, I know you mentioned a concept that's, really important: change management, right? For these types of projects to be successful, who are the people that they should be getting involved, from the client side in order to make this, as streamlined and smooth sailing as possible?
Yeah. I'm going to give you a consulting answer, but it depends. It depends on the impact of the change, right? So we had a client in the oil and gas industry, and the ERP implementation we put in place had a impact to how their field workers were being trained, how they were inputting hours, how people were receiving materials in a warehouse and logging of work requests. So the the change management effort there involved looping in all the department heads of those wings of the business, but also, several on-site visits and releasing of training materials through various avenues, right? These were people that didn't log in, and check their email on a daily basis, people that had to be contacted via phone, via letters sent at home, and various avenues that, are sort of had to be creative to make sure that we could really talk to and impact those workers. So, of course, early on in the buy-in and foundational phase, it's, in initiatives that are driven by the business and IT downstream, the impact has to go down to the folks whose day-to-day is being affected.
No, that's great. So I know we're getting close to the end over here. Any final parting words of wisdom, things that, you think that it'd be important for, a CFO, a VP of finance, somebody to, just know, or to be thinking about?
Yeah, I would say the technology services right now in the cloud space are becoming very competitive, and even just the way you go about incorporating them in your application footprint is on the cutting edge of some of these features we talked about, and some of these movements like the AI movement as kind of one example. I would really encourage CFOs to continue sharpening some of the research and outlook and relationship building with the IT space as a way to look to modernize the IT functions that support the business. I know when the cloud came out, it was, it almost created a bit of a barrier between IT, who was heavily invested in the on-prem footprints, and the business, who wanted new advanced releases and modern functionality. I think IT now has sort of on the cloud caught up, and is in fact providing a competitive advantage to those organizations that are embracing how modularized the services can be, and how quick it is to stand those up.
Yeah, no, that's great. So, if any of our viewers have more questions, want to connect with you, reach out to learn any more, what's the best way for them to get in contact with you?
Of course. I guess LinkedIn for me is really the best way. You can find me by my name, Julia Radovani. I promise to be quick to respond, and just looking to meet more folks who are interested in sharing these ideas and connecting online, and also hopefully in person as well. And Daniel, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, of course.
You and I go way back. We have a shared relationship for almost 11 years now. So it's truly an honor to be one of the guests on your show. and an honor to see how where you've taken this this space to. So, big fan over here. Hope to be back with some more insights.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. You know, when I came up with the concept, you were frankly the first person I thought of to have on the show. And you know, I know scheduling wise, we took a little bit to get you on, but you know, we're happy that you came on. You brought a lot of great insights, and you know, we hope to have you back on at some point to you know talk through you know what's changed and you know what other trends that you're seeing. So. You know, thanks for joining, and that's all the time that we have for now. Please make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe to our channel over here so that way we could bring more great guests like Julia on the show.